Now that World War I was over, the nation decided to isolate itself because she wanted to focus on the internal problems rather than foreign ones. America did not join the League of Nations as she reflected Washington's farewell address ideas. The nation had a time of relief after such war. But it did not last for long. America's economy boosted through the Roaring '20s along with isolationism. However, at the end of the decade her debt increased at an alarming rate. This debt was brought about by social, political, and economic means that carried America into the Great Depression and its efforts to recover and bring back prosperity. The catalysts for such depression were the buying on the margin and isolationism. Buying on the margin was introduced by banks, which let people use more money than they actually had. It was essentially a loan. Throughout the Roaring '20s, many new consumer goods were a must-have for American middle-class households, whether they had money or not. The automobile became popular in this time period thanks to Henry Ford's assembly line.
100 cars were produced every day. Every middle-class person had to own them. It was seen as a necessity.
This is Alex Gadayenko. He struggled in his European home country, so he moved to the United States in 1919 due to the job opportunities encountered in northern factories. Alex worked in the Ford factory in Michigan and would later be part of the belief of welfare capitalism, where techniques by bosses like Henry Ford were employed to improve working conditions to lead lower, more stable workforce. Alex's wage would later rise and would receive paid vacations. Advertisement and media helped companies to sell their goods and persuaded the public to buy them. People would buy goods that they could not afford. This is why buying on credit was introduced. When people could not pay back their loans, the banks failed, and nothing could bring them out of depression because everyone was impacted. Along with these loans and goods, high tariffs on foreign commerce and anti-immigration acts to the US were part of the lasting isolationism. Isolationism stopped trade with foreign countries and when the Depression hit,
Herbert Hoover made the Hawley-Smoot tariff so that the US could build itself up from the inside. In theory it may have been a good idea, but in practice this hurt farmers, especially those living in the Dust Bowl and everyone in the importing and exporting business in America.
Hoover thought that American businesses could resurrect themselves by relying on each other. Instead, this tariff hurt trading partners of America too. Along with this, America's export and import value fell considerably.
After Hoover ended his presidency and FDR became his successor, FDR applied his New Deal programs which relied on the 3 R's: relief, recovery, and reform, such as the Agricultural Adjustment Administration, AAA, Federal Emergency Relief Administration, FARA, Public Works Administration, PWA, and more, were some of FDR's New Deal programs that helped to create a temporary relief for the people. The AAA paid farmers to reduce the production of food and animals. It also created educational programs to teach methods of preventing soil erosion. This program was created in the hope that higher prices would increase farmers' purchasing power and thereby help alleviate the Great Depression. Later in 1938, Congress declared the AAA unconstitutional. The FARA regulated certain payments dealing in foreign exchange, securities, import and export of currency. This program was an immediate relief because it gave $3 billion to states for wages and public projects. The PWA was intended both for industrial recovery and for unemployment relief. Welfare state went along with these programs, lending money to the unemployed.
People seem to have found confidence in Roosevelt's work as he would frequently present speeches in which he would talk to the citizens over radio, later known as fireside chats.
As the programs progressed though, it became very controversial to some. Some attacked the New Deal for giving the federal government too much power, as well as doing too much for the big businesses and too little for the unemployed.
FDR wasn't the only one being attacked by people thinking that he was a socialist. His wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, was also criticized by his support for blacks against discrimination.
During the 1920s and the Great Depression there was such a difference in economic matters. The government interfered in people's lives instead of continuing with laissez-faire as it did in the Roaring 20s. But there were also things that kept continuing. Isolationism stayed the same as more problems came up. FDR may have alleviated a major part of the country with his New Deal programs. But what saved the country from the Depression was the United States' involvement in World War II as it decided to stop isolating and rather spread democracy.